You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. So, if you have a new landscape going into your yard, you're going to be landscaping or adding substantial or remodeling your landscape this next spring. We're coming into the season where you've got a lot of choices. So right now we've gone from mainly just winter evergreens. We plant year round here, but the winter evergreens there's a lot of selection, a lot of choice. But now we're coming into the fruit trees and the spring blooming shrubs, the spring blooming trees. There's a lot more choices. Perennials will be right after that. Then the veggies and herbs. So there's a ramp up. And so you're coming into that planting season. How do you plant in a four-season climate? If this is new to you, you're from, let's say, a tropical area, you haven't really seen snow before. Well, this is a four-season climate. And I use the 20% rule. So 20% of your plant selection should be dedicated to spring bloomers. Just because that's the lilacs, the forsythias, and all the wisterias, the inspiration of spring. And oh my gosh, it's been winter, and now look at that. That's amazing. I can't believe red buds bloom like that. That's crazy. That's beautiful. I want more. 20% should be dedicated to that. 20% should be dedicated to summer bloomers. That's crepe myrtles, the rose of Sharon's, even roses are that. So you've got something going on because the spring bloomers are going to bloom and then they're done. They're just green now. So you're left wanting. If you want the bloom cycle to continue, plant some summer blooming things. Fall color. That's your maples and aspens, things that just go, wow, I can't believe a tree could turn that color red. That's amazing. 20% should be winter evergreens. That's what we've come through. If you didn't have enough evergreens in your yard, you kind of felt it. I don't know, it feels kind of stark out there. What's going on? You didn't have enough green to keep you going. And then the last 20%, so 20% spring, 20% summer, 20% fall, 20% winter. The other 20 is just what tickles your fancy. If this is your summer home and you winter down in Scottsdale, dedicate it to summer. Put more burning bush, put more butterfly bush, put those things in. If this is your winter home, you summer in Alaska, well, focus on the fall and winter stuff. So put it towards, or if you just love spring and I like everything about blooms, focus on spring stuff. That's your plant mix. That's how you'll get that right rotation coming through. Another big mistake, we do a lot of flower beds. We don't do lawns here. We do raised beds. And when you're layering your flowers, go from tall to small. So the backside should be taller flowers, snapdragons. The shorter flowers should be pansies. Also, perennials and annuals. So for me, I love perennials. They're anchors. They come back year after year. Perennials, they just don't bloom as well as annuals do. So I'll fill my taller perennial flowers towards the backside. And there's always something rotating through. A lot of your wild flowers are perennials. They bloom for a while and then they kind of fade. And then something else will come out and bloom. What I do is to get to have my cake and frosting too, I tend to anchor everything with perennials. They're going to come back every year. They may not bloom quite as well, but I always interject some annual flowers. Nothing blooms like a petunia. Oh my gosh. Geraniums, calipricoa, zinnias, vincas. These are over the top, nonstop, riotous bloom. Nothing can compare to that. So I'll sprinkle some of those in at the front edge of my containers. I put annuals, but I'll have an anchoring big perennial thing there. Excuse me. So that's some flower tricks that kind of work out. Consistency. So you need some color. Everyone wants to go all bloom, but you need some other foliage plants. Here, foliage is as interesting. So Nandina or heavenly bamboo. It's a great foliage plant. It does have a flower, but it's not that pretty. You're planting this for the foliage. And then the foliage actually ebbs and flows. So right now, mine is bright red. So if Nandina are in the winter are in bright sun, they turn red. Then that red will turn back to green. Euonymus will do that. Cotoneaster will do that. It's fun to play with the foliage piece of those plants. Annuals, perennials, we kind of touched on that. There's a difference, and not just with flowers. Sedums. This is a huge, there's hundreds of varieties of sedums, dozens and dozens of varieties of agave, yuccas. Some are annuals. They're not going to winter over up here because of our elevation. And some are perennial. Do your homework on that. Make sure you're checking you're getting the right variety. I see too many mistakes where folks bring their collection from their previous home in Palm Springs. They come up here and it dies in the winter. Red fountain grass. Frequently people go, I love it. I've grown it for years. I always have it. And then it doesn't come back in the winter. Here at this elevation, it's an annual, not a perennial. Everywhere else in the country, it's lower elevations, it's a perennial, comes back. So, but not up here. And then hardscape and greenscape. Those are two terms you'll hear often in landscaping. Hardscape is non-living landscape pieces. So your patio, your fences, your barbecue grill, your statuary, the pond, these are all arbors, pergolas. These are all hardscape. And then greenscape are all the plants. So trees, shrubs, grass, flower beds. And the secret is 60%. You get this right, and it will feel balanced and just beautifully. It will feel right. You can't put your finger on it. You go, this just feels right. 60% green plants should be covering your plot of land. So that's sounds like a lot, but a tree takes up a huge area. So, but 60, you get that right, and it will feel right. If you get too many plants, you go to 70, 80% plants to your plot plan, it's going to feel overgrown. You know, oh, what? They didn't know when to stop. Oh my gosh. If you get too little, a rock, a boulder, sling some crushed granite around and one tree, it's going to feel like you're wanting. Like, what? Is this a rental? Did they run out of money? What happened? They got $1 million house and no plants. What's going on? It feels lunar. It feels dusty, feels dirty, feels like incomplete. So 60% is that marker. So when we're designing landscapes, we're trying to go 60%. We're thinking mature size of that tree or that hedgerow or that screening plant or we're framing a vista. But we want 70% green plants to that space around you. So that'll be a real helpful percentage for you. Play with textures. One that I don't think we use often enough, but just loves growing up here at the higher elevations, grasses. We have so many native grasses that grow here. Down in the desert, they have cacti. Up here, we've got grasses and yuccas. So we do better with those than anything else. I love grass because it adds motion, it adds drama, adds texture. It always adds something to look at, even in the slightest of breeze. We're most famous for our pampas grass. That's a great big one. It gets these huge plumes. It gets head high or taller, and the plumes are above that. But there's so many varieties, and they all do well here. I think fruit trees, they all do well here. So fruit's kind of nice. It's got a spring bloom. It's got summer foliage. It's got fall color. And you get an ornamental fruit on it. It kind of has a lot of different of these design elements all wrapped up into so many. The other one that really is tricky for my Midwestern folks, sun. The sun is more intense here. This elevation is brighter. So you're used to growing, let's say, Japanese maple out in full sun. Here in the mountains of Arizona at this elevation, they're not going to like that. I know the tag says it grows in full sun, but you really ought to have some protection. That mid-June, 10 to 2, it's not going to like growing there. More shaded, east side, under the canopy of another tree. That's where they're going to thrive. And so geraniums, I know the tag says blooms in full sun, and it will grow in full sun, but it just doesn't bloom very long. It blooms longer, better, stronger when it has a little bit of that mid-afternoon shade to it. So you'll play around. We call this gardening, getting familiar with where your things are at, but do that kind of homework. Check top10plants.com. That's our plants are located there, and we describe how they grow here, how much sun for here, how big they're going to get here, not nationally. Okay, gotta go on.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our Austrian pine.
We have instantaneous trees just in and ready for planting.
This pine has the same long needles as our ponderosa pine without all the problems, and these trees are really big and bold.
This is the fastest growing of the pines, and lots of sizes to choose from.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. For people who love big, bold pines, they love to shop.
For a more fruitful garden, increase success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.